We are back once again after a little time off to recharge the batteries over the Easter holiday with Torch News Roundup number 44. And I'm sure my fans, both of them, are just dying to hear my thoughts on the Last Jedi trailer. Do you really want to know? Well, remember, you asked for it. Alright, as I'm wont to do, I'll set the stage by saying I'm not a huge fan of The Force Awakens. Felt like it was a huge missed opportunity. And I'm a fan of the prequel trilogy, as evidenced by my last rant video, so I'm a bit wary at best as to the direction Disney's been taking Star Wars. I really liked Rogue One, however. I just watched it for the first time since the theater over the Easter holiday, and I thought it stood up great. For the saga films, though, there seems to be a lack of ambition, or more accurately, there's no real concern for the natural progression of the original characters themselves, which I'm sure I'll get into in a moment. But let's begin by going through some of the scenes we've been privy to by the trailer. Alright, things start off with Rey looking out of breath. Many say this is an homage, if you will, to our introduction of Finn in the Force Awakens trailer. Then we get the voiceover of Luke saying, "Breathe, reach out, what do you see?" And I'm guessing her breathlessness is from a Force vision that will ultimately be the flashback we see later in the trailer of Luke and R2 watching what is apparently a Jedi temple or headquarters burned down. We see what I guess is Princess Leia from the back plotting some strategy meeting or something. One of the more intriguing shots to me is what, at least I assume to be the remains of Darth Vader's mask, which has been apparently smashed even further than last we saw it. Now some are saying it's Kylo Ren's mask, which it may well be, but with the sound of Vader's breathing played over it, and the fact that it seems like there's not quite enough material there to make up Kylo's mask, I'm going to stick with the theory it's what's left of Vader's mask after someone, maybe Snoke, got angry or something. We don't get to see Ren with the mask on, which is disappointing, but it seems he still has the crossguard lightsaber. Then we see a book, apparently with a Jedi symbol. I thought at first that could be Maz's hand, and it still could be. I frankly don't need any more of Maz in the series, but I guess she'll be back. She comes across a bit too much like Guinan from The Next Generation for my taste, but whatever. Then we get that distance shot with Luke and Rey apparently lightsaber training on the hill, and it looks to me at least like the lightsaber being used is green, which is interesting, though I could be wrong. Another great visual is the ships racing along the canyon ground, and it looks like it's causing the land to bleed, which could be a very cool metaphor for the Empire. Excuse me, the First Order. Finn is still unconscious, and the fact that that's the only thing they show from him is both hilarious and indicative of how Disney constructs these trailers. There seems to be this overriding fear of showing too much to the extent that we can't even see Finn come out of his coma for fear we've ruined it for somebody. Spoiler warning in effect for those that sensitive, but John Boyega himself has already stated at Star Wars Celebration, as if we needed the confirmation, that Finn will indeed be back in action and on a mission with a new character named Rose, played by Kelly Marie Tran. Rose is probably the first female character in the Star Wars galaxy with a reasonably normal name. But I digress. The point I'm making is, in their haste for secrecy, they've really culled such uneventful scenes for the most part as to make a fairly bland trailer. I mean, compared to Thor Ragnarok's trailer, which was released but a few days before this trailer, the difference is like night and day. Here it's obvious Disney is saying, we know we have your money, it's Star Wars after all, so we don't really have to show you anything overly exciting. But frankly, I like to be excited by a trailer. Doesn't everybody? Alright, then we have Poe and BB-8 racing to their X-Wing fighter, only to have it explode in their face again. Those guys have no luck with X-Wings, do they? Maybe they'd do better in a Y-Wing. Get themselves a nice Y-Wing, or maybe an A-Wing. And we have a shot of the Millennium Falcon in action. I was hoping Lando might be in action with Chewie here, but sadly Billy D. Williams said at Star Wars Celebration, quote-unquote, "They didn't ask me." What does Disney have against Billy D? Give Lando a role, okay? By the way, that'll probably be Rose at the controls of the Falcon on the mission with Finn, because Finn can't fly and, well, girl power. It looks like they're going to attempt a bigger space battle this time. And the big finish, I only know one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end. Now this is the source of consternation to some, because it's sort of the confirmation of what many of us feared, that Luke just gave up, threw in the towel, and went off into hiding, without any regard for his friends or the rest of the galaxy. And that would go completely against his character in the original films. Now, I would like to think this is going to result in some massive swerve, which, if handled well, could be interesting. But according to Mark Hamill, who said he, quote-unquote, fundamentally disagreed with Luke's behavior in this movie, I guess what you see is what you get. Now, I think it's obvious Luke will end up training Rey to some extent, so he'll probably have some kind of change of heart at some point. But again, I'm taken back to my feelings on the Force Awakens trailers. My initial reaction for them were pretty much bared out in the actual movie, so I don't think I can expect some radical departure from this trailer in the actual movie itself. I mean, how hard is it to get the classic characters right? I don't think anyone would have envisioned this type of future scenario for these characters had they been given the opportunity to write the film. Luke would never abandon his friends or beliefs after Return of the Jedi. He finally achieved that Jedi status, and now he's become a jaded old hermit. I was expecting him to have the same role as Obi-Wan, but it seems like they're playing him as a grumpy Yoda 2.0. I said way back in my The Force Awakens review that my biggest fear is that the sequel trilogy will turn out to be the Star Wars equivalent to The Godfather Part 3. It feels like one big missed opportunity after another, until now Luke's progression from the original trilogy has turned into another regression, like Han Solo going back into the smuggling racket well into his 70s in The Force Awakens. Seems to some extent that there's a bit more skepticism for the film this time around. Like some fans were willing to give The Force Awakens a pass, and now expect Disney to deliver the goods. But I really don't feel they've done right by the characters at all as of now. Once again, there's virtually no sign of 3PO and R2, beyond the brief glimpse of R2 in the flashback, and no Chewbacca. Apparently the news now is Leia is being written out of Episode 9, contrary to reports from Todd Fisher. It seems they're just going to have her fate explained during the movie. And personally, I think it would have been perfectly acceptable to let her appear at least once or twice in recycled footage, or maybe another CGI scene. Although that seems to weird people out for some reason, I don't know. Again, I honestly ask, is this the sequel trilogy you envisioned as a kid? I sure know I didn't envision any of this. Well, all I can do is hope for the best at this point. I don't know how it turns out, but hopefully this isn't going to be another strike. I don't think I could bear another disappointment going into Episode 9. Alright, there's still a lot more news to cover, but I wanted to get this video out there ASAP. It's been nearly a week since the trailer came out, and in YouTube time, it might as well be 3 years. So I'll be back with some more news very soon. Remember to check out the links in the description to find me on Twitter and on my website. Until next we meet, this is Johnny Torch reminding you, keep the flame burning brightly, and the Force will be with you. Always.